Okay, welcome back to part two of this wonderful little street scene of an alleyway. Now, I'm this as far as I am. I just kind of basically did all the filling in. I'm now going to start with the center piece here, okay? Getting all these lovely lights and these shadows in with the figures, all that kind of stuff. So let's crack on. This is coming along well. I'm happy enough with this. It's going to be very eye-catching, I think, I hope. I'm going to start off in the distance here with a nice bright colour. Okay. I was thinking about darkening this very slightly, just to catch the light a little bit better. So I may just kind of dim it down a little. Now I still have my same palette, same colours, everything is the same. Okay. I do apologise if it's a little messy, but some of the colours are still wet, so I thought I might as well just use these. I'm just going to make a slightly dim, kind of a brown, a kind of a soft kind of a brown. Now, this has dried somewhat, just a little bit. So you can see it's kind of slightly dry on the canvas, but I can still kind of soften my colours into it just that little bit, which is really helping. But I just wanted to kind of soften just a little bit of darker colour in along the base here, just so I can get my lights nice and bright, okay? That's the only reason. So I'm going to clean that brush now, and I am then going to take some cadmium yellow with some white, okay? Cadmium yellow, white. A nice, very bright whitey yellow. Lots of paint, okay? So let's now try this. I'm going to cut down in front of that side there, just to make that nice and sharp, okay? I just want to concentrate on filling this in. Alright, that's all I want to do right now, is just fill it in. You can see it's a very rich, bright, golden kind of a yellow, isn't it? Let me take some Naples yellow, perhaps. Soften a touch of Naples into that. I'm going to create just the outline of the shadowed area here, where it kind of comes out and goes back. I feel it would just really help to avoid getting mucky kind of colours, alright? So some Naples yellow. I might try a hint of cadmium red in that, and some cadmium yellow as well. So we can get nice kind of rich orangey sunlit sort of a colour as well. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to sort of soften them into that line, kind of flicking them upwards ever so slightly, okay? You see that? And then flicking across. It's just so that there's not a very strong, harsh line up there, okay? I don't want there to be a very strong, harsh line. So I'm going to take some more Naples yellow, little white, and a little cadmium yellow. Lots of thick paint on this. So I'm going to come down like this, and I'm going to come across like that. Then I'll start again here, so you can see what I mean. I'm going to make it then a lot more warmer as it comes down, okay? So I'll take some cadmium yellow, a hint of cadmium red into that. So slightly warmer. Okay, and maybe another hint of cadmium red. And the idea is, as it's coming down, it's getting much more orange, okay? And this is probably 90% paint. I've very little thinners in this, really very little. Little bit of Naples yellow across there, soften that all together. Like so, soften it in there like that. Okay, even go up like that, soften it upwards. So that's the lights. Now I know they look a bit strange, but once I put my darks in, it's really going to pop out. Okay, so I'm going to just darken this one as it comes down. So some cadmium red, some cadmium yellow, more cadmium red. It's really, really warm down here. So it's softening that in like so, just very loosely again. And I may put my palette knife on this as well later on. So I'm going to try some cadmium red with a hint of burnt sienna. And I'm going to get that slightly warmer brown, kind of a browny orange is what I'm going for, in here as it comes into this shadow, okay? I'm just scrubbing the paint on, alright? So let me just stand back now just for a moment and take a fast look at this. Now that looks very luminous on camera. That's very, very rich yellow. It's not that rich. I think for some reason when I'm painting and when I do tutorials, it seems to pick up the yellows much, much more than the rest of the colours. This is actually not that yellow. It looks very yellow on camera, but it's actually a soft yellow. It's more of a kind of a Naples yellow colour. I'm just going to add a little bit of Naples yellow and white in just across here, okay? I just want to soften it ever so slightly, only for yourself so you can see on camera that it's not as rich as you think it is. That's the difficult and the tricky thing about tutorials with your cameras. You know, certain colours will jump out of the canvas a lot more than other colours. Do you know what I mean? So it's very tricky to explain the colours if they look completely different to you. So I just have to try and do what I can with that, really, and keep going, you know. But it just makes my job much more difficult if you understand. So let me just take some white. I'm going to put a little dash of white across here like that and soften it down. Then I'm going to start putting in some of the darks just to get it looking somewhat decent. I'm going to mix a nice warm pinky brown for this. I think burnt umber, crimson, and a touch of black, okay, just a touch. And then into that I'm going to put a hint of Naples yellow. Now, if you feel that's too pasty, you could take a little white. I just find the white makes it a little bit more chalky, and I don't want to go chalky with my colour. So I'll stick with Naples yellow, crimson and burnt umber. And let me just have a look now and see how this looks here. So I'm going to come across, just put an impression of some of the shadows in over here. Another one kind of coming down like that. See, they kind of disappear then into the buildings. You see what I mean? We have a bike up here, so I'm going to just extend that shadow just a little bit there. Okay. Then we have this shadow over here. And don't worry, I will soften all these together as I go. Okay, I will kind of soften all these in with slightly stronger colours. Do you understand? So let's give this one a little bit of a wiggle here. Comes down. It starts getting darker then as it comes down, okay? So more burnt umber and burnt sienna. Soften it in like that. Just make it kind of relatively soft. Bring it out like that slightly, I would say. Okay. Then burnt umber with some sienna. And go across like so. It's just a basic case of just looking at what you're painting. Just look at how the shadows are falling and just copy the direction. That's all, okay? Just copy the direction of those shadows. Now I'm going to come over to this side and I'm going to just kind of soften that in ever so slightly here, and I'm going to darken it up there as well. So I'm going to kind of bring it in here with a darker colour and go up. Alright. So they come down and they almost disappear. So it becomes one. You see what I mean? the shadows come out and they become one with the building. They disappear into the building. A little bit of black and a little bit of brown. Okay, like that. And again, I'm being careful with the black because black against this yellow is going to go very, very greeny. So I need to be very careful with that. So I'm just going to soften them and they sort of disappear then into the building. Now I just want to roughen up that area just slightly. Take a bit of this fawny colour and I'm just going to sort of rough it up just a little bit, because it's not just a completely smooth flat colour. And I will use a palette knife as well in a moment. A palette knife will give us some lovely textures. But I'm just kind of focusing on getting it filled in, just getting the shadow filled in. I'm not worried about the little details of the shadows, really, I'm not. It's only just getting the basic shapes done. So I'm going to switch to a slightly larger brush now. Just stand back now just for a moment. Every now and again you need to stand back and look. Have a good look from a distance. That just allows you to take everything in all together. So some burnt sienna, some burnt umber, a little black, okay? I'm going to fill this in. I'll add a touch of thinners just to thin it slightly, just to make it easier to move around, that's all. That's really the only reason. Okay, and I'm going to go up here into this building. So now it disappears into the building, you see? And the same with all this shadow just sort of disappears into the building. And I'm going to darken this one here. I'm going to bring it up into that, darken that. So it's slowly, albeit slowly, starting to come together, okay? Just, you know, it takes time. Now, I am going to, first of all, I'm going to get a palette knife now and start putting in some real strong brights, and I'm going to start working on some of the shadows as well. So, any kind of palette knife that you have that you feel comfortable with, just take a little bit of paint. I'm going to try some Naples yellow and white, okay? And I may try a hint of cadmium as well. Just the slightest hint. I'm going to make a very bright white, okay? And I'm basically just going to go pull it down. And even across, look. I just want to add some nice texture to some of these brights, okay? And in doing so, you're adding texture to the roadway as well, the footpath, or the walkway, whatever it is. You're adding texture to that at the same time. Just make sure and clean your palette knife in between, okay? Clean it really well. And as it comes down, then again, it gets warmer. So a hint of sienna in the mix. So it's becoming a nice warm colour then. And this texture is good, that's what you need. See, it's just becoming, it has a lovely kind of a texture to it, doesn't it? Little hint of sienna, and then plenty of white into that. I'm going to avoid the yellow just for now. I don't want too much yellow in this. So I'm just being careful, just a little. Okay, I'll take a little sienna into that, and I'm going to just put that colour in here. You see, it's just kind of adding some texture to the road, or the alleyway. I keep saying road, it's an alleyway, isn't it? I'll pick up some of that orange, add some of that in there. All in the name of texture, creating texture. Now I'm going to go back, I'm going to get a smaller brush, slightly smaller brush, not a very, very pointy brush, but a little round brush. Just something that I can get a little bit more detail with. Something like this I think will do fine. I'm just going to get some of those darks. Now let me see, this brush, it's a little bit on the hard side, so I might try something else. Something a little softer. Just something to give me a little bit more control over my shadows, that's all, really. So I might go here, and I might just kind of add a little couple of little marks. Just small, small marks. I'll refine some of the shadows as well. Okay, there's one or two I want to bring out up here as well. You see, it's just sort of adding little touches of small details to the painting, just here and there. Okay, let's put a few little suggestions of roughage on the road, little stones, little bits of this, bits of that, what I like to call bits and bobs. Okay, I want to put a little bit of light in there. You can see there's a nice, it's a very nice kind of almost like a bit of water running down. Like so. It's quite nice. And another little dab of it just there. You know, I'm just kind of trying to soften some of the edges here and there. They don't have to be really, really, really harsh edges. Take some of the yellow, pop a little bit, touch of that yellow in. But it's coming along. It's coming along slowly, 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 bit by bit. Okay. Now also I want to take a nice warm colour. I'm going to take some sienna, some cadmium yellow, and I'm going to just put a few little small lights just along there, look. Where the sunlight is just kind of coming around the corner and catching some of those. Just one or two. Now some sienna perhaps on its own. Perhaps pick out some more of these ones just there. And take a bit of sienna, possibly patch a little bit of sienna through the shadow here just to create the continuation of this light colour coming over into the road. So let's just put a hint of sienna there and maybe out into that light just slightly. And I know I have a lot of knife work on here, So that may feel quite messy to you, but I think it's just nice. It adds a little bit of texture and a bit of character to the painting. Do you see what I mean? So for instance, like what I might do now as well is I might take my larger palette knife, take some burnt umber, okay, and just go along and add some thicker lines with burnt umber like that, just here and there, you see? Just to give it a little bit of texture. And then pull some out into the shadow as well. You see what I mean? It's just adds a little something to it. Now I want to start putting in like the bikes and all that kind of thing. So I'm going to take, I'm going to go for a nice soft colour, because they're in shadow but they're quite warm. I might take a little hint of cadmium red. So it's a browny kind of a red I have here. And I might just start with the first one just here. I'm going to create like a suggestion of the wheel, and then it kind of comes up like that. Just very kind of loose suggestions, that's all. And let me just see now. They don't, you know, when you look at them far away, they don't look like actual bikes. But when you know, you can see that they're bikes, but, you know, when you're painting them, they are just basically shapes and lines, little lines. That's all they kind of are. So I'm only just making a very loose impression of them. That's really all I'm doing, okay? Very, very loosely. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put a slightly bigger one. Okay, so that's like that. And it's very sort of dark and closed in. It's just a kind of suggestion. And then, let me see, we've kind of a dark spot behind it. Just kind of comes up like that. Then we have a splash of red up on top. Like so. Then we have little handlebars which sort of come up and out like that. And then I'm going to bring the shadow out from those, okay? Like that. So they're just kind of hidden in the shadows, you see? Alright, and I'm going to put a little piece on top like that. Put a little put another one here. I'll just suggest another one here. And I'll put a little shadow under this one at the back. Look, it's just suggestions. I'm not actually trying to paint actual bikes and all that kind of thing. You know what I mean? I'm really only just trying to suggest these little things in the painting. Okay, that's all. I'm just very, very loosely. I'm going to take a little touch of Naples yellow, and it's just going to catch some of the bars, that kind of thing. A little hint of white on top of that. You see, so it's just starting to come together slowly. Okay, we have some figures up there in the distance, don't we? I want to do some nice figures. I'm going to try some burnt sienna with a little dash of crimson. So just a very thin amount. Cadmium red even, perhaps a nice warm colour. So we have a person standing like that, okay, off in the distance, wearing a kind of a dress type of an outfit. Then I'll make it slightly darker here and there. Bring the shadow back like that, okay. Then the head, which is almost the same kind of colour, and a little touch of Naples yellow just to suggest the face of the person, okay? You see, just a little dot. And I'll put another one slightly darker next to that person. I might use a little bit of burnt umber for this, and this person is like handing that person something. Take a little bit of red, suggest he's holding, or she is holding, like a red bag or something. Round here to my slightly lighter colour again. Okay, like that. And then little foot, like so. And there's some kind of a hat or something. I'll put a suggestion of a little hat on that person as well. Okay, it's just some little suggestion, and he's handing that person something, you see? Now, I want to do a nice warm shadow as well. So I'm going to just bring the shadow across like that, okay? Just stand down for a moment, and then I'm going to just tap a little bit of light on the shoulder. You see? Maybe just a touch of Naples yellow. And on the hat. And I'll put a dab of Naples yellow to suggest the hands. So, yeah, it's just, again, a very loose kind of suggestion of two people kind of standing in an alleyway talking amongst themselves. And I put a little bit of black to suggest a carrier bag or something. Okay. Yeah, we're doing quite well, aren't we? This is not bad. So it's just then a case after this. It's a case of going around and see where you can add little bits. So for example, there's a little very bright coloured bar or something on the floor here. I'm going to put that in. I'm going to just go like this, something that was just kind of laid on the floor. And then I'm going to put a very dark colour underneath. Give it a bit of shade as it comes down. Then there's a very dark shadow underneath that. So let's see, go down like this. Then it goes kind of up like that. And it goes into something. I don't know what it is. I really can't tell. But there's something there. Is it like maybe a shovel or a spade or something like that? But there's just something very dark in there. And I'll bring a little bit of shadow from this down and out like that. Okay, not bad. And I'll add maybe an extra bit of light around and around like that. I really don't know what it is. I can't tell. All I can see are shapes. Do you know what I mean? That's all I can see. I know it's a shape, so I'm just copying that shape. And I put another little bit of dark colour back of it, just here and over here. Who knows? Who knows what it could be? Right, I'm going to start perhaps adding a little light here and there to some of the signs. Cadmium red, a little bit of Naples yellow. So perhaps just lighten this one ever so slightly. And I'll add a touch of pink maybe into... I might add another one up here with a touch of pink in it. Okay, then I might take some Naples yellow, some cadmium yellow, and add a little bit of that here and there, just to refine some of those posters and flags and whatnot. I'll take a little bit of cadmium red, pop some nice cadmium red in there, give that a bit of a pop, bring it down like that. So it could be like a piece of a red shop front or something. Pop a little bit there, just to complement that. Pop a little bit of the red up there. So it's just warming it. I'm just warming it ever so slightly. Now, I may have put too much red on that, so I'm just going to take some yellow and a hint of burnt sienna and just pop some yellow with burnt sienna over that one there, okay? Well, it does have that lovely glow, doesn't it? Soften it in with your fingers like that. All right. Okay, that's not bad. I might take some of that colour, actually. Some that cadmium red and burnt sienna, and add a splash of that just here and there on this side, just to complement the painting and just kind of bring it across. And then I'm going to take a small pointy brush and just add little details to some of those signs. Just, for example, just to refine the edges a little bit more, that kind of thing. Let's add a few more wires coming down. I might add some lights on some of those wires. There are a couple of lights in there, so let's just try maybe Naples yellow on its own. So the light is catching some of those wires, you see? Just a little hint here and there. Perhaps even a touch of cadmium yellow as well. And then even a touch of white in some of them. And really, I don't feel the need to go any further with this. I may just take a little yellow and a little burnt sienna, give them a very fast mix just down here, and I may just warm this ever so slightly. And I may just take another little bit of that with some cadmium red. Hint of yellow, or sorry, a hint of white. Cadmium red, cadmium yellow, and a hint of white. And we just have a look now and just see, can I just add a little bit of colour just to this bright section in here, okay? Okay, let's just have a look and see how we've gotten on with this so far. No, that's not bad. I think that's a nice little scene. That glow is what I was trying to get. Do you know that rich glow in the centre? That's what I was trying to achieve with this painting. You know what I mean? That was the whole aspect. That's what kind of drew me in. So I'm glad that I managed to catch that relatively okay. You could keep tipping away with all of this now and just adding little bits here and little bits there. We just darken that just to show off the shadow a little bit more. But you know, you don't really have to go to any huge lengths. To show too much detail. Okay, put a little bit there. And for me, I think that's all right. I don't see any reason to keep going and putting more and more paint on. I feel like I've gotten the impression that I wanted from the painting. You know, as I said before, you could keep going at this and going at this. I think for a nice loose study, it turned out very well. I'm very pleased with this. Very happy. And with that, I am going to just sign down here. Come down here and don't forget to sign your painting. And I also have a frame which I'd like to try. So where is my frame? Here it is. What do we think about this frame and this painting? Isn't that wonderful? There we go. Absolutely stunning. I'm very happy with that. It's a nice kind of an abstract study. Let me just turn the camera. Or will I zoom in for you slightly? Let me zoom in slightly and show you. Don't know if I can. There we go. It's a nice simple study with some nice kind of knife work at the end of it. I really enjoyed it. It's just a matter of trying to keep it nice and simple. Do you know what I mean? Let me turn the camera here and I hope this is okay. I hope this is okay. And there we go. And everyone, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that. Let me think. Did I want to say something but I can't remember what? Oh yeah. I am doing a painting on my Patreon page. I'm going to put it on screen there. Okay, lovely barn. I'm painting that this week on Patreon. So if you're interested, go and take a look. Pop off to Patreon, have a browse around and see what you think about all the posts, different posts. And if you wish to support me, do sign up. So I just thought I'd mention that to you. It's been a pleasure. I've had great fun painting this. I can't wait to stick this in a frame properly and that will really show it off. So, you know, try something different. Just grab some brushes, grab a palette knife and just go for it. You know, it's only paint. If you ruin it, you ruin it. At least you know you've tried. But you would be very surprised with the outcome if it turns out well, better than expected, as is the case with this. I was really kind of nervous doing this one because I wasn't sure how it would turn out, but I'm very happy with it. I think it's lovely. A nice kind of an abstract scene. I feel nice and loose after it. So do try it. Let me know what you think. I hope you've enjoyed watching me paint and you've gotten some inspiration from my tutorials. Happy painting. Thank you so much and God bless. I will see you next week. Thanks again.